Quint. Welcome. This is the Market Wrap. I am Agam Vakil. Well, what an eventful week this has been. And while we did see some amount of weakness, well, we ended the day or rather the week on a positive note. So let's take a look at how we've seen the markets come through the course of this week, and starting off with the Nifty 50 and take a look at those which are advancing. Though of course the Nifty did close down by as much as 1.7%, but we did have a lot of gains in HUL, of course, on the back of the acquisition that it's made. Kotak Mahindra Bank sees a little bit of an uplift, and this is largely on today's gains that it has seen, about nearly 6 or 7% gains coming in today. And this is after some news agencies reported that Berkshire Hathaway could likely be looking at a stake in the company. However, the bank has denied any knowledge of this matter at this point in time. Wipro and Infosys, among others, which are also advancing in trade. We also have Adani Ports along with Bajaj Auto up as much as 1.5%. On the losing end, Sun Pharma, well, giving away as much as 17%. Again, a lot of governance issues which have propped up. We also heard the management, and the management actually did try and address as many issues as possible. M&M down. We have weakness in something like Grasim Industries. HCL Technologies is the other curious one. It announced an acquisition of 7 products from IBM in one of its partnerships, and well, at this point in time there's very little clarity when it comes to amortizing the entire amount that the company will pay towards these products to IBM, and that's the reason why we've seen a little bit of weakness in HCL Technologies. Actually, it's not a little bit, it's about a good 5% at this point in time. It has come off though from day's lows. Let's move on and take a look at the broader markets. In the Nifty 500, we do have gains in some very unusual ones. Vakrangi advancing by as much as 27%, Edelweiss recovering up 12%, Dr. Lal Path Labs and Reliance Communications, the other unusual one in the gainers list out here. On the losing end, Navkar Corp losing out as much as 26%. Sun Pharma Advanced Research falling in tandem with its parent company, down by another 23%. Shankara Building Products, no surprises there, continues to lose trends, and of course the ILFS Transportation along with something like a Quest Corp. Quest Corp is the other curious one. It's continued to lose out for the 2 straight weeks now, down 14% this week as well. So we'll be watching out for how trade develops on some of these losers as well. But bringing on, how was this week? What are the key events that influenced the markets this week? Let's bring that list out and take a look at some of those factors where we have seen a lot of news. So starting off with Monday, we did have Unilever, and they announced their deal with GSK. This, of course, has turned out to be an advantage for Unilever, and as you can see, it was one of the top gainers on the Nifty. Moving on to on the same day, we also had the Gujarat government, which has agreed to pay higher power tariffs, and on the back of that we did see a little bit of traction for a lot of these power companies. Let's move on to the next development on Wednesday, and we had the Monetary Policy Committee, of course, maintaining status quo, not changing its stance either, continuing with the calibrated tightening stance that the Reserve Bank has had. OPEC, of course, fails to arrive at a consensus on production cuts. So, well, it's a little bit of an overhang when it comes to oil prices as well at this point in time. We also have the cabinet direct Power Finance Corp to buy the government stake in a rural electrification corp, and this one was again big news considering the power lenders in focus, and we did see a lot of traction there as well. And well, today we also saw the net mutual funds flows rise in November, where equities have lagged. So again, some more cues coming in from institutions, specifically domestic institutions in this case. So that's how this week was. But what can we expect from the upcoming week, especially given the fact that we will have the results of the state elections come through? There is, of course, that overhang over equities. Macro is also turning in India, and you know, we've got a lot of things to consider as we move into next week. And we have Sanjay Dutt, the director of Quantum Securities, speaking to us about how some of these factors can influence markets going forward. Listen in.
I think in the immediate short term, that's today and Monday, until the results come out, obviously it's the election overhang that we are living with. But in my view, negatives from the elections are more or less in the price. Market participants are fearing that BJP will lose all the 3 states. So even if we do have a negative results, I think that means all 3 states are lost. We'll probably see a panic 100-150 points fall on the Nifty, and then things come back to the fundamentals ahead. The macros have started to look a little better, both from within India as well as outside India. And what is most important is that we've had a reasonably good correction over the last 8 to 10 months. Valuations have become fairly reasonable right now. Yesterday we saw the last bastion falling. That's the Kotak Mahindras and the large cap stocks falling 3 to 5%. So we are pretty well positioned now as fundamental investors to start shopping. On the buying side, I think this is a good time to keep accumulating good cement stocks, insurance companies, some asset management companies. Insurance is one space I think there's huge potential ahead in India. So therefore, those stocks you must add to your portfolio. The top insurers that are listed right now, they're a definite buy at this point of time. Cement, I obviously mentioned, that's another place to be. I think that's a very big secular story in India. So my primary focus would be these. Yes, some of good quality infrastructure plays will continue to make money. One of the best plays that comes into my mind for a stable long-term portfolio is Reliance Industries. I think that's going to deliver huge value over the next 2 to 3 years to investors.
All right, then let's take a look at the derivative space and what the technicals are telling us. At this point in time, starting off with the way open interest has been panning out. And this is just your open interest distribution. On the lower end, we will likely look at support around the 10,500 mark, considering this accumulation in the 10,500 put. Of course, below that, the next support comes in around at 10,200. But for now, it seems that this one is the most likely support in the near term. On the higher end, of course, it is 11,000. 11,000 call is the one with the maximum open interest, and that's the one which has kept in pace with well, the previous few expiries as well. So that's as far as well, your range is concerned. We're currently looking at a 500-point range between 10,500 and 11,000. But remember, we are likely to see a lot of volatility as we move into events next week, and we will talk about events next week. But before that, let's take a look at what some of our technical analysts are telling us about the levels that you need to keep an eye on as we move into trade next week. Listen in.
Despite the fact that we have seen a significant correction in the index, but still the India VIX has been in the range that it was in between 16 to 20, which is indicating that despite the fall, the volatility has not rose to that extent, and that is indicating a kind of a positive bias. On the other side, we can see that there's a heavy put writing on the 11,000 strike, which is significantly in the money, and still the conviction of the put writer remains there, and they are sticking to the positions that they have taken. And on the other side, we don't see a lot of call writing happening in this month, which means that people are skeptical on writing call options at this point of time. And the volatility skew is placed again positive, and today we have an inside bar according to the technical pattern. So accumulating all these 4-5 studies on the index, I feel that this correction that we have seen was temporary in nature, and we might see a rebound happening again to the level of approximately 11,000. So I would approach the index with a option strategy, and the strategy would be to take a bull call spread where one can buy a 10,800 call option and sell a 11,000 call option.
Though the daily parameters are slightly overbought and a few of them are in sell, what we feel is with so many events which are lined up, we may see some kind of a rally probably again towards 10,950 to, or probably it can even extend till about 11,100 hereabouts. But if you look at the risk to reward, we would definitely not recommend going strongly all out long over here at this juncture.
Okay, then let's move in and talk about what can we expect going into next week. And we're certainly going to look at a lot of wild swings. Why? Because of state elections. So come Monday, we will have the outcome of the exit polls for the assembly elections, and we will see a reaction on the markets moving in. On Tuesday, we will have the results of the assemblies of 5 states. So well, all eyes will remain on Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, perhaps Telangana as well, and among the relatively bigger ones, and of course Chhattisgarh along with Mizoram. But it is going to be a very, very important day of trade for the markets. Post that, move on to Wednesday, and we will have your CPI and October IIP. We will also have your trade data, which will also be in focus, and that perhaps could determine how macros are moving forward. Finally, on Friday, we will also have your WPI data come through, and just a little more data on the macros, and perhaps then you can start guessing about what the RBI can do going forward. But at this point in time, we certainly are bracing for a very, very active market, well, perhaps a lot more volatility to come through, and expect the India wicks to remain elevated. But with that, it's a wrap on this week's market. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.